Welcome back to the Milestone Moment, where we take top producing agents, get to know their background, and the moment it all changed for them in real estate. Today, we have Ashleigh Calhoun. Ashleigh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So you're, relatively speaking, new to the business, obviously. Yes. 3 years in. Tell us kind of how you got your start, or obviously you've been doing an amazing job growing your business, but tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, well, so I started in May of 23. Real estate was definitely something that I was always very drawn to, that I really wanted to do at some point. But I have 3 kids. I became a mom pretty young and kind of just underestimated my ability to make it. You know, it was just a very unfamiliar world. But finally, after having my 3rd son, I just realized I wanted to go for it. So I did. And it's been wonderful. Best decision I ever made.
Tell us, what were you doing before real estate?
So mainly before real estate, I worked as a server at places like Maltby Cafe and Red Robin, which I loved. Serving people and making those connections with them has just always been something that just brings me so much joy. And then for a few years, I also owned and operated a house cleaning company that served kind of all of the greater East Side area, now all the same places where I'm selling homes today. Even some of my clients now are some of the people that years ago I cleaned for that have, just stuck with me and transferred over into this new career. It's just, again, like similar with cleaning and with serving. Real estate is, to me, I realize, is so similar in the sense that understanding the product, the home, but most importantly, being able to identify the needs of each person that you're working with, and being able to think almost ahead of time, like what they're going to need, and then really matching them, meeting them where they're at in every scenario, and just making that experience enjoyable, as simple as possible, and one that that no matter the outcome, whether they're selling or purchasing, that they are just super thrilled about.
I love it. Well, you have an amazing way of connecting with clients. I've seen you just kind of how you educate and I think have empathy for people. Is that from maybe your serving background, or is that just from growing up, or what is it like? Where do you think that came from? Just that way of dealing with people in such an amazing way.
Well, I do. I love people. I do. I love people so much. And
I think that's half the battle. Maybe.
It is. Definitely. Well, and, just kind of, it's more than once I've been put in the category of being, an empath, really like feeling, what people are feeling.
Yeah. Wow.
And I do feel like I've always just been that way. But I also love, the business side of it as well. And I've, really, dove deep into the education side and bettering myself. Right now, I'm actually working on getting my managing broker license. I've done courses like Ninja through Windermere and, any Windermere Way, any programs that I can embark on so that I have the tools to be able to, emotionally support my clients, but also be able to guide them, successfully through whatever the transaction is. And I do think, because people have asked me, like, what do I do at open houses that make people want to work with me? And, I just really think it comes down to being able to just observe people. Everybody is so different, but just like when you go into someone's home, everyone's home smells different. Everyone's home feels different. And you can learn so much about in just a few minutes of being in someone's home. And that's the same at open houses. So just trying to understand them. Do they have kids? I ask, a certain list of questions, like, where are you at? What are your goals? Pain points? What do you hate right now? What do you dislike? And then making them feel comfortable. And, I think being a mom of 3 boys gives me the ability to, even make a wild animal feel comfortable with me. So that tends to be an area that I think I've really been able to, utilize and have a lot of success in.
I think, well, you're obviously a very genuine person that comes across, and I think you do an amazing job of, telling your story online with content. Tell me about the evolution of that. You do so much online, and I think it's fantastic. And do you find that people gravitate towards you, or how's that been going? And tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, it's funny that I'm glad you have brought that up, because I think, I do between Instagram and Facebook, I hold, roughly 70,000 followers.
Wow.
But there is a little backstory to that. And it actually doesn't really have anything to do with real estate. During COVID, right around 2021, when we were all home, I just had a baby, we had lots of time on our hands. So I started to kind of duplicate and just make funny, relatable mom and marriage content reels, the little short videos.
Great.
Just did it for fun. Literally did not think anything of it. I just enjoyed it. I do like being on the camera, being in my story. And one day I checked my Facebook and I had like 900 notifications. Had no idea what was going on, but realized that my videos had started to go viral.
Really?
And so the way that works is once you have one video go viral, it kind of pushes you into the algorithm, a different stream. So then you're that much more likely to go viral.
Wow.
So I gained those followers by just making the funny, relatable, mom and marriage content.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of them have stuck with me, but
so good.
I don't do as much of that now just because, I want people to know they can take me seriously.
Right. Okay.
And
I've got to go back and see some of this. This is amazing. This is amazing information.
Well, yeah, it was just totally accidental, but it definitely, I have secured a few leads through social media and, built relationships that way. But, I do love making people laugh. So I try to kind of combine the two. Like I know you've probably seen a few where, I do silly kind of real estate related humor,
right?
But at the same time, I want people to know that I really, I do love to be goofy. I love to make people laugh.
You can take me seriously.
You can trust me. Yes.
I like that. Okay.
I promise.
Right. So 2025 has been an interesting year as we pass through that. Very challenging, a lot of uncertainty. 2026, a whole new year. Is there anything that you've either done in your business last year that you're excited about continuing, or anything that you're adding this year that you're kind of excited about?
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing I can say for sure is that since I got into real estate, it has not been an easy market. It has been a challenge. Right. And it is 100% still a successful market, but it looked different than, COVID time. So that has really caused me to really look to different agents that are willing to connect with me and kind of pour into me about processes that have worked for them. One thing I can say over everything is finding what works for you and then sticking to that. Okay. It's so easy as a real estate agent to want to like bounce around and do 100 different things. Yes, which I've had very bad cases of shiny. What is it? Shiny object syndrome. Shiny object syndrome. Yes, like a crow. So this year, what I really did, I spent a lot of December really, updating and perfecting a lot of my like marketing materials. Open houses is still a big part of my business. So I really use every open house as a way to obviously showcase the home, but also make sure that I'm very prepared as far as having like a seller guide, a buyer guide, little bits of information about the market, about me, and of course for buyers and sellers. Aside from that, I do, monthly mailers. I have a few neighborhoods I send postcards to, but mostly I'd say the biggest thing that I am continuing on doing is open houses and just trying to be available when people are there.
Love that.
Yeah, and it's been good.
Now, you're relatively early in your career, around 3 years in, but you're obviously, in my eyes, very seasoned. You've done quite a bit of business in that short window. Is there any advice you have for like a newer agent that might be watching that is just trying to get started? They're getting their license and you're just like, here's what I wish I would have known back then. Anything that you can pass on?
So many things, but I'll pick a couple of the top ones.
Well, then you're great. This is perfect.
Definitely, don't be afraid to reach out to other agents. Okay. That can be very intimidating, and some are not going to have the capacity, or it just might not be their style to feed into newer agents, but there are agents out there that will. As I mentioned before, finding something that works for you, whether you want to prospect by utilizing your sphere or cold calling, door knocking, open houses. You really look into what each of those kind of arenas, like what it all entails, like what is it going to require from you? How realistic is it for you to implement that into your life? And then stick to it.
Yeah.
Don't jump around because, you never know how, like my broker says, what you do today is going to impact you 90 days from now.
Sure.
So you're not going to see results immediately, but don't do it for 30 days and then do something else because you're going to, unknowingly be hitting the restart button over and over.
Yep.
That and really understanding your forms. So a basic purchase and sale agreement.
Sure.
Understand those forms. Yes, because they don't really teach you that in school. I hate to say it and confirm this rumor, but what you learn in real estate school is just not, it's
all that applicable, right?
And so you come out and you're just, you've got your nice new briefcase and your suit coat and you don't have any idea what to do. Right. Knowing those forms so that if you do host an open house and someone's ready, that you're not going to be standing at your computer staring like, oh my word, what I need to sign? What I got? Yeah. Good. That's if you can know your forms and find the just the angle that you want to go as far as finding your leads, you're going to be set.
I love it.
Yeah.
So the premise of this show, the milestone moment, it's when it all changed for you in real estate. What do you think your milestone moment in this relatively young career? What do you think it is?
Oh man, I would have to say, well, mostly when I joined Windermere, my office. It's just been amazing. Even before I got into real estate, when I knew that I wanted to get into real estate, there was a mom friend of mine at my kids' school that worked at Windermere, and this was actually up in Bellingham. And I just remember thinking, like, I just wanted to be at that office. I loved everything. I didn't really know much about it, but I dreamed of being at Windermere. Okay. And when I joined Windermere Northeast with Peter Hickey, that office is incredible. There are some big time agents in that office, leaders in our industry that are just incredible, that are willing to, those are some of the agents that pour into me. And I've done a lot of my deals within my office, hosting for other brokers in my office and selling the homes I host. But I think one of the biggest milestone moments in that was now that I've sold 3 homes in the same neighborhood. Okay. And I have really built a phenomenal connection with all of those neighbors. Okay. Great. And that's been wonderful because so many leads have come from this one street in Mill Creek.
You're like, this is my street.
This is my street. When if I show up, if I, because I do occasionally, door knock or I'm coming to say hi to people. So it's just a wonderful community.
I was going to, speaking of community, how do you get involved? Obviously, I know you're, office in Kirkland, Mill Creek, Snohomish area. Like, what is it? Like, what do you call your community? Is there anything that you do that helps you stay connected?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I want to do more of this year. But, with my kids, playing sports, that tends to get me out in the, community, kind of seeing if there is need. Because, the thing is that I've realized that there is so much need here. A place I recently discovered, which I'm really excited to connect more with them, is Mary's Place. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of Mary's Place,
absolutely,
but it's in Seattle. So,
do you know Mary's Place?
And, not a lot of people know this about me, but I was a single mom years ago. Okay. And, and there's different parts of my story that I really, it means so much to be able to give to women who are getting back on their feet. And that is an area that I will definitely be aiming a lot of focus. Because there are girls, moms and kids right literally within our community, which is huge to be able to have an impact so close that will then, positively impact all of our community.
Huge. Yep.
So
absolutely. Yeah. I love that. So obviously 2026, it's interesting with technology, and AI is the big rage. Is there any technology that you're looking at implementing or something that you've been using that you're wanting to share with us?
Yeah. So ChatGPT is pretty cool. Okay. And there's so many different ways that you can use it. It can be very overwhelming, but I have started utilizing it to do a number of different things, whether that is, helping me create my flyers, or I actually had it create my business plan for the year. Nice. Something that you can do with a ChatGPT is help it get to know you by writing a short paragraph about you. Yep. Like, this is who I am. This is kind of give it your tone. You can even speaking into it helps because it hears you. So I've done that. So my ChatGPT is on point. That's awesome. I can take something and say, hey, can you make this sound for me? Or sound like it was written by me? Yep. And it's so on point. So having it help me write my business plan literally down to the dollar. I said, I did this last year with X amount of units, and this was my, the sales for the year, the volume. This is what I want to do. I have X amount of hours per day, per week.
This is an action plan.
Yeah. And it was like, boom, like within seconds. And I printed it out, and it is pretty amazing. So, there's so many ways that you can use it. I think, I used to get so stuck on making open house flyers or whatever marketing materials.
2 hours go by and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just wasted in my morning, right?
So hard, because that is not where I am strong. Right. And so utilizing that, and also things like an inspection report. It's like a really big inspection report, and I want to be able to break this down for my buyer.
Yeah.
I will always, of course, review it myself. But what I've started to do with my buyers, which they love, is I pop it into ChatGPT. I say, I want you to analyze this inspection report. I want you to put in order of most important item to repair down to, maintenance items that can wait, categorize it, give an estimate cost, because it will do that.
Okay.
And it pulls out this really cool report that I'm able to then share with my buyers. And they're like, wow. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah, I know. I got this. That is good. Okay. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So you've been a fantastic guest. We appreciate you being on the show. Are there any parting words for either buyers or sellers out there, or anything about the market that you want to impart on your way?
Absolutely. Buyers, there's still quite a bit of inventory. We have 31% more this year.
Love it.
Than we did last year going into spring and summer. So, that is good, but we want to get some of that sold. So there's so many options. There's so much opportunity.
Sure.
There's a lot of motivated, builders, sellers, ways that we can make it happen. Of course, working with a great lender that can help you strategize the perfect plan. And as far as sellers go, I think we're going to see a much better spring and summer than we did last year. As rates have slightly improved, and I feel like people are more confident in just the general health of the economy and the market as we've seen it hold steady. So when your home is presented well and priced right, and you have a great agent that's going to work their tail off for you, you will have a good outcome.
I love it. And I think you'll have a fantastic year, Ashleigh. Thank you for being on the show. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Until next time. Thanks.